Emotional intelligence shapes your thoughts and actions to enable you to have control over your behavior, as well as to develop to handle it more effectively. With good levels of emotional intelligence, you will increase the way you identify and handle your emotions, as well as how you react to the feelings of others. By becoming more emotionally stable, it allows us to grow and gain a comprehensive understanding of which we are, and this allows us to communicate better with others and sustain stronger relationships. The following steps will give a good beginning point to discover the pillars of your emotional intelligence. Practice noting how you feel. Let us take an example where you have a loan to service and the business you invested the loan is not doing well. You are now working more than 15 hours a day to make extra income to sustain your lifestyle and also have some to service the loan. Due to frequent burnouts, you sometimes scream at your children when they play music at full volume. At the grocery store, you are easily irritated when the seller mixes up the groceries you selected. When driving home, you tend to experience road rage, wondering how some drivers got their driving license. When online, you easily pick up arguments with people that seem ignorant of what is being discussed. In essence, your lifestyle is taking a toll on your emotional intelligence. Under these circumstances, it is important that your busy lifestyle makes it easy for you to lose touch with emotions. For you to reconnect, you should set a timer for different points during the day. As soon as the timer goes off, take a few deep breaths and observe how you feel emotionally. Then focus on what emotion is manifesting as a physical feeling in your body and what the perception of that feeling is. You will notice that the more you practice, the more the feeling becomes second nature. One can also use other ways to reconnect with your feelings, such as keeping a journal of how you feel at various times of the day. Take note on how you behave. Now, assume that when walking to your struggling business, you scream at your employees for not following the laid-down procedures. You even threaten to take disciplinary measures against the employees. When on the road and another driver seems to be driving slowly, you hurl unprintable insults at the driver and threaten to smash their vehicle. Sometimes you press hard and continuously on the car horn when the traffic is moving slow. While at home, you get irritated by screaming kids and tend to reprimand them harshly by asking if watching television is the only thing that they can do during the holidays. It is important that when practicing emotional awareness, to take time to notice and note your behavior. Try to note the specific feeling and the matching reaction that you manifest. The goal of this element in applying emotional intelligence is to become aware of your emotions and how you react to them to have better management of them. Interrogate your opinions. Still, on our example, you have formed an opinion of your workers as impatient because of the conversations you have had with fellow business persons on how new employees have unrealistic expectations. Your opinion on your employees has been reinforced by a Facebook post that you did, and most of the commentators agreed that new employees are highly impatient individuals. The advisable way to be emotionally intelligent in these scenarios is to question your opinions, especially how objective your opinions are. Another way to help you question your opinions is to practice empathy, as it requires you to temporarily drop your premise of argument and conclusion. Become accountable to your feelings. Assume that you tend to justify why you scream to your employees because they do not understand how costly it is to run the business. You also justify your road rage by arguing that some drivers never seem to adhere to all traffic rules. At home, you qualify your behavior to your children by arguing that they invited that reprimand for not being productive. In essence, you are avoiding being accountable for your feelings. you should be responsible for your feelings, and state that you screamed because you are feeling overwhelmed by fears and demands due to the struggling business. Similarly, your other feelings are occasioned due to the demanding expectations from your creditors and unforgiving external factors that you feel hopeless about. Celebrate the positive emotions. Let us imagine that you have now started experiencing an increase in income and your relationship with your employees is improving. However, you are to celebrate these small improvements, even though you feel relieved. Your excitement is held back by the worry that things may return to an earlier, challenging state. In applying emotional intelligence, it is advisable to set time aside to celebrate the positive emotions. Positive emotions are the desired emotions, and you should allow them to manifest for the longest possible time. Individuals who experience positive emotions tend to be more resilient and have more satisfying relationships in life. Do not overlook the negative. We now assume that you are now focusing on the positive emotions by looking for happiness and hope within your challenging situations. Even though you feel anger and get worried when things stagnate, you quickly find ways to overlook the negative emotions. In line with emotional intelligence, what you are doing constitutes suppressing negative emotions, since they are undesired. Emotional intelligence requires that all emotions are acknowledged and expressed. Remember the argument that emotions are a form of energy, and holding them up is counterproductive, as you might have an emotional outburst or get overwhelmed by the emotions and act irrationally, endangering yourself and the lives of others around you. Practice deep breathing. Continuing further with our illustration of operationalizing emotional intelligence, assume that when you get positive feelings, you become so excited and make impulse decisions to celebrate the success. You impulsively hug and peck all your employees for working to your expectations. In addition, you assume that when you are angry, you bang the table and kick the chair while cussing continuously. What is happening in all these instances is that you are expressing an emotion which is encouraged, but you are expressing them unsafely. One of the ways to safely express negative emotions, such as anger, is to breathe deeply, several times before speaking or acting. Another way to avoid emotional outbursts is to wash your face with cold water continuously before going back to speak or make a decision. The goal of this recommendation is to safely express emotions, especially the negative emotions, and also avoid making emotional decisions that are highly subjective. Emotional intelligence is a lifetime process. Again, using our earlier illustration, one of your employees has asked you to consider seeking emotional intelligence training. Initially, you felt you are okay, but you welcome the idea and approach a psychotherapist to assist you to build your emotional intelligence. Unfortunately, you feel that what you are being taken through can be hurried because it appears obvious. You also want immediate improvement because time is of the essence. When you get home, you go online and try to combine as many lessons on emotional intelligence as you can to acquire most of the emotional intelligence. All your actions are well-intentioned, but counterproductive. Emotional intelligence happens over time, and it is a lifetime process. You should start by analyzing your weaknesses and focusing on the shortcomings fast. While addressing your weaknesses, start with a few measures to rectify your weaknesses and expand gradually to attain an all-around improvement. Look at yourself objectively. A common mistake that we make is to assume that we know ourselves, when, in essence, we do not. Using our series of one illustration, assume that you think that you are simply ambitious and there is no major weakness you have. By not welcoming interrogation of yourself, especially your strengths and weaknesses, you are not helping matters, as you cannot completely understand yourself. Understanding yourself means that you are evaluating and scoring yourself. Therefore, you need a comprehensive score guide to help you assess your strengths and weaknesses. One of the components of evaluating yourself is to seek feedback from those people who you frequently interact with. From the feedback given, examine the presence of any pattern and note them. Feedback is not condemnation or profiling. It is the impression you create through your behavior and actions. Maintain a diary of your emotions and corresponding reactions. Even though emotional reaction and behavior are diverse, they tend to occur within a predictable pattern. Now that you know yourself, start noting how you felt within specific situations and how you reacted. Ensure that you're writing down the emotions and subsequent reactions are consistent to help you develop a comprehensive view of your emotional intelligence. Where possible, you can request a partner or an employee or colleague also to note what they think were your emotions and matching reactions. Using these two diaries of your emotions, you will adequately classify your intelligence levels. Maintaining a diary is a way of generating self-feedback and also increasing self-awareness. Like any condition, understanding yourself is critical for an effective fix. Take time to understand what motivates you. Using our earlier series of one illustration, assume that you sometimes feel energized and other times feel demotivated. Even though you sometimes feel energized, you cannot correctly pinpoint what motivates you. It could be several things or situations that cumulatively excite you. Understanding what motivates you will help you sustain the positive energy. For instance, accomplishing a project can be a source of motivation. In this case, you can increase motivation by splitting the project into modules, which enables you to complete them successfully, rather than having one entire undertaking. Losing motivation can lead to a cascade of frustrations. It is important that you identify what motivates you and seek to optimize motivation. Take it easy. With respect to our example earlier, you pushed yourself to the limits by working 15 hours a day. Due to limited time, you overdid everything. Pushing yourself to the edge can increase the risk of emotional outbreaks. You essentially allowed one negative emotion to append to another, which worsened the ultimate reaction and behavior. Learn to give yourself a break and practice meditation. For instance, you can take time and do yoga. Another way of taking a break is to pause before reacting. Each day, ensure that you have some minutes or hours just to sit and do nothing, other than assuring yourself that all is well. Recognize and accept your emotional triggers. Individuals that are self-aware can recognize their emotions as they happen. It is critical that you become flexible with your feelings and adjust them to your situations. While acknowledging your emotions, allow them to manifest, but remember not to allow them to take you hostage. The essence of emotional intelligence is to learn to free you from emotions while allowing them to safely manifest. For instance, if you took a loan to start a business and the business is fledgling, it is important to recognize that each day you do not make sales or make a sale is a trigger to your negative emotions. Learn to predict how you will feel. One effective way of handling your emotions is to learn to anticipate them and deploy all your mental strategies against them. The ability to anticipate your emotions should not imply that you try to block them. For instance, learn to think about a situation and predict how you will react if the outcome goes contrary to your expectations. With this knowledge, deploy your coping mechanism, but remember to let the emotions manifest. The continued emphasis on letting all emotions express stems from our arguments that emotions are a form of energy and should be allowed to dissipate to help restore mental status balance prior to the emotion. Learn to get out of your emotions. Once your emotions start expressing, it is important that you snap out of it, as prolonged manifestation drains your energy and will also allow the emotion to control you. Self-management involves taking accountability for your behavior and well-being, including handling emotional outbursts. Changing your sensory input is a critical way of managing your emotions. For instance, you can get your physical body out of routine by engaging in an exercise class or reading a book. The overriding point here is to interrupt your routine to disrupt the prime conditions for the anticipated emotions. For instance, you can choose to watch an animation rather than overthink the daily performance of the business. Have a schedule. While earlier on we suggested you learn to disrupt the routine that triggers your emotional reaction, it is important you maintain a schedule and adhere to it. Still, you have to complete tasks, as not completing tasks is counterproductive. Having a schedule will allow you to pursue an organized approach to completing tasks. A sensible order will ease the pressure of poor time management. That only increases the risk of short deadlines. Postponing tasks will only increase pressure, and at the same time, overworking yourself will increase pressure. A schedule helps you attain a balance between the need to work and the deserved rest. Get actively involved. As indicated earlier, lack of active listening and being interested in you will worsen emotional reactions. By learning to acknowledge the state of your mind and physiological status, you will start taking note of how you feel. We may not realize it, but we are often too busy for our emotional health. We tend to be concerned only when the emotional state of our bodies leads to physiological imbalances, such as headaches and sleep depravity. Take time to be interested in what your mind is expressing subconsciously, and listen to the emotional manifestation. For instance, take a pause during the day and try to figure out the status of your mind. Remember, you have a choice. At the end of everything, you have a choice on how you react to different situations. Even though it may appear beyond your control, you have a choice in the matter that you are reacting to. By recognizing that you have a choice, you will commit to internalizing and applying desirable choices. In other words, acknowledging that you have control over your emotional reactions. You will seek help on how to better handle them. For example, your reaction to an irritating situation is completely manageable if you seek ways to control your feelings. By learning to anticipate and manage the temper, you will completely control your reaction to irritating situations. Set realistic goals. A great way to set realistic goals is to detach yourself from the listed goals and question yourself if you are being fair to the person, you. When you deploy this strategy, you will adjust your goals to be realistic. Everyone wants to stand out and accumulate experience and material wealth, including upgrading social status. But it should not come at the expense of your mental health. One advantage of having realistic goals is that it enhances your confidence when you attain the defined goals. However, setting realistic goals should not simply go for the comfort zone, as a little challenge is necessary to enhance your absorption and coping mechanisms. Seek help. One of the most ignored areas of acquiring requisite emotional intelligence levels is to seek help. Becoming emotionally competent requires some reflection and adjustments, and external help is critical. Most individuals wrongly assume that on their account, they can manage personal challenges, which in essence are emotional in nature. There are individuals who are better experienced than you are and may possess more skills than you are in managing temper. For this reason, you should actively seek help than suffering in solitude. It is through interaction with others that you will discover that you may not have known your strengths and weaknesses. Walk your mind to the solution. When facing a volatile emotion, ask yourself and write down what you are feeling, the options you have, and what you truly want. Sometimes learning of the outcome of your pending action can slow you down and help you manage the emotion better. For instance, you might be feeling angry, and the options you have are to shout at the other person or tell the person that you are angry and disappointed, and you will engage them when you have calmed down. Exercise. A. Pick any of the 2 emotional intelligence practices and explain how you can customize them to your situation. B. Focusing on the last bit that urges one to walk the mind to the solution. How would you apply it when feeling betrayed by your closest friend